These days, there is so much skincare information out there, I realize it can get very overwhelming for anyone that's new to skincare or really just getting serious about their skincare routine. So that's why today I'm gonna share some small changes you can make that will have a big impact on your skin. So the inspiration for this video is actually the people I speak to in real life and the people who DM me, because I start to realize, I might have a lot of viewers who know a lot about skincare, but in reality, there are still so many people who don't know the basics of skincare or who are just trying to get really serious about their skincare routine, even as adults, right? So sometimes it's important that we take a step back and really just kind of think about what are those small changes that we made initially in our own skincare routines that made the biggest difference. So the tips I'm going to share today are really small changes and really easy to understand changes for someone's skincare routine that either help me greatly or tips that I share on a regular basis that tends to get the best feedback whenever I share it. All right, so tip number one is you don't always have to wash your face with cleanser in the morning. I think this one is probably the tip that freaks people out the most, because if you are a person who likes to be hygienic and clean, and especially if you're a person who has oily skin or you have dealt with breakouts, the thought of not using a cleanser in the morning is kind of scary almost. You almost think oh my gosh, am I gonna just set my skin up for failure? And what we've started to realize is that, sometimes if you have irritated skin or dry skin or even acne prone skin, sometimes it's that cleanse in the morning that leads to a lot more dryness and irritation for your skin. This isn't always the case, and there are lots of factors that go into it. Are you in humid climates? Do you have oily skin? Did you wear a lot of, thick skincare products the night before? Did you sweat that morning because you went and worked out? There are obviously a lot of different factors to take into account and to help you decide if you should use a cleanser in the morning. One of the things that I try to really teach people about skincare is that your cleanse sets the tone of your entire skincare routine. If you skip a cleanse in the morning, sometimes that can be really good for your skin because you're basically maintaining the natural lipids that your skin produces. So if you're disturbing all the natural lipids and fats that your skin produces and your skin feels like you don't have enough, it can do the opposite and it can start to irritate your skin and dry out your skin. And what people don't realize is sometimes that's what actually leads to your breakouts, is that your skin is just freaking out. And so when you learn to maintain a proper skin barrier, a healthy skin barrier, then you start to see that your skin just is easier to deal with. So going back to skipping that morning cleanse, what I'm talking about is just not stripping your skin, and sometimes it just starts with just not using a cleanser. All that said, if you feel like you have to cleanse your face in the morning with a cleanser, then use something that's not stripping. Use something that has a lot more hydration, a cream cleanser, maybe a hybrid oil-based cleanser, something that's going to help replenish your skin and maintain that natural hydration in your skin versus something that's going to really cleanse your skin. Now, on the topic of cleansing, the second tip that I have is to not rely on makeup wipes as your only cleanse. That is something that I think people who have followed me for a long time have heard me say so many times that I actually took a break on talking about it because I just felt like I was starting to sound like a broken record, where I was no more makeup wipes, no more makeup wipes, no more makeup wipes, no more makeup wipes. And then I started getting people saying to me, well, can't I just use a makeup wipe occasionally? Or what if I use it as my first cleanse or something? And the reality is there are obviously times to pull out a makeup wipe when, it makes sense. If you're single and you're dating and you want to just keep some makeup wipes in your purse because you might stay the night at somebody's house or something and you want to do something to get your makeup off, then obviously, that's better than nothing. But on a regular basis, you need to properly cleanse your skin at night. When you use makeup wipes as your only cleanse, that's really the big stipulation here. When you use makeup wipes as your only cleanse, you're not really giving yourself a good cleanse, and you're especially not being gentle with your skin. What I find with makeup wipes is that you really have to rub hard. Sometimes you have to use more than one makeup wipe. If they're not super damp, then you're going to have to really rub. I always feel like my skin is super irritated. You can see that redness immediately after you use a makeup wipe. And really just at the end of the day, they're not properly cleansing your face. They really are not doing the job. So the best bet is to double cleanse. And this is something that I tell people all the time. I am a double cleanse for life girl. It will never change. Once I got into double cleansing and I realized how easy it actually is when it becomes part of your normal routine and how gentle it is for your skin and nourishing and replenishing and just really gets everything off without stripping your skin, it was like a game changer. My skin completely changed once I got into double cleansing on a regular basis. If you're not familiar with the double cleanse, what I'm basically referring to is starting with an oil-based cleanser to break down and soften your makeup, and then moving into using a second cleanser, which is usually a water-based cleanser like a gel or a cream cleanser, to then remove all the rest of the grime and makeup. Again, on cleansing, this actually has nothing to do with cleansing your face, but this time it's all about cleansing everything that will touch your face. So this goes for your makeup brushes, your sponges, your fingers. If you're gonna be touching your face, like putting on your sunscreen or something, make sure your hands are clean before. That is so important, because one of the reasons why you might be breaking out is because you might be transferring bacteria onto your skin. So you wanna make sure that anything that touches your skin is always clean. That also goes for your pillowcases. And this is one where people have a little bit of a harder time. They start to realize like, oh my gosh, I really haven't changed my pillowcase enough. You know, some people will recommend that you actually change your pillowcase every night. I think that's a little excessive. I don't have the time and the energy to just constantly change my pillowcase, but at the minimum, you should be changing your pillowcase every week. All right, so the next tip that is so simple, but usually really life-changing for a lot of people, is to not wait for your skincare products to dry before you apply your next product. Whenever I say this to people, they're always like, wait, I always apply one product and sit there and let it dry for like a minute before I go in with the next product. You know, when you think about it, I guess that feels like it makes sense, right? You don't wanna put another product on while your skin feels like it's wet. But what we know is that your skincare products absorb better when your skin is damp. Not necessarily wet, because if it's completely wet, then everything's just gonna smear around and not absorb right away. But when your skin is just damp, like it still feels like it's hydrated, it's actually going to absorb your products and the ingredients even better. They're going to be more effective. And the best way to think about it is like a sponge. When a sponge is already really damp and it's, you know, like really full and it feels nice and hydrated, then it actually absorbs everything better. But if that sponge is super, super dry, then, you know, you can put stuff on top of it and it's just going to sit on top of it. So it's the same way to think about your skin. Your skin is obviously very different from a sponge, but it's an easy way to visualize it. The only time you don't want to follow this rule is if you're new to a really strong active. So if you just introduced retinol or tretinoin into your skincare routine, it might be too strong for your skin at first. So you don't want to put it on to damp skin and make it work even better, because it's just going to be really harsh on your skin. Instead, let your skin dry for a little bit, and when it feels like it's dry, then you put on your active ingredient that you're new to. So once your skin is acclimated to, say, a retinoid that you're introducing, then you might be able to put it onto your skin while it's still damp, or you might not. You just have to watch your skin and see how it acclimates. And then another product that you would not want to put onto a damp face is your sunscreen. I always tell everybody to let your moisturizer completely dry down and then put your sunscreen on top. That way you just are guaranteeing that you're creating this nice film over your face. The next tip is to lock in all of your skincare products with an occlusive. What that tends to mean is to lock everything in with a moisturizer, but what we've really started to learn is that it can be very confusing to say you always have to use a moisturizer. And the reason for that is because sometimes serums can be occlusive. Sometimes, you know, like an oil is what somebody would like to use instead. It's not my preferred choice to lock everything in, but sometimes that's what people like. Sometimes it can be a sunscreen that acts as a moisturizer as well. So what I'm really saying is you just want to make sure that you're creating a barrier that keeps everything in place. The way to think of it is that you're trying to lock in your hydration that you have on your skin. So I have videos where I talk about this, where there's a big difference between hydration and moisture for your skin. You need a combination of these two things. So, you know, the most simple way to do a skincare routine is to wash your face and then put on a moisturizer or a moisturizing sunscreen. And that's really the basis of a good skincare routine. But when you're adding in anything else, like even if it's just a hyaluronic acid serum, that is considered hydration for your skin. I think of it as like water for my skin. And sometimes it's literal water, right? If you just wash your face and you need to put something else on. So really what you're trying to do is lock that water into place. You don't want it to evaporate. That's the easiest way to think of it. If you let that water evaporate off of your skin, that's what leads to the dryness that you get with your skin. So you just want to make sure you're locking that hydration in, that water, with something that's occlusive. All right, the next tip is also a really simple one, and that's don't forget your neck and your hands. And honestly, I always say don't even forget your chest all the way down to your nipples. The way to think of it is your face starts at the top of your forehead and ends at your nipples. When I heard this tip years ago, it was a game changer for me because I started to realize I need to bring everything down to make sure that my neck and my chest also look the same as my face. And that also goes for the back of your hands. If you're trying to avoid the signs of aging, or you want to at least slow down that process, if you're skipping areas like your hands, especially with things like sunscreen, then your hands might show your age, or your neck might show your age, or your chest might show your age. So your face might look great, but then the rest of your exposed body parts and your skin might not look the same. So you just want to make sure that you're really keeping everything even. Next tip, do not add too many new products at one time. I think we've really started to realize how personal skincare can be and how quickly what you do with your skin and how your skin reacts can change also. So I think that's like something to keep in mind when you're introducing new products into your skincare routine. You might be that kind of person who can introduce a ton of different new products into your skincare routine and never experience an issue. But then one day you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this rash I have on my skin? Or why is my eye swollen? Or why am I suddenly getting these breakouts? And if you introduced all these new products. Let's say you introduce 3 new products. You have 2 new serums and you have a new moisturizer or a new sunscreen, and you started using them all at one time, then it's gonna be really hard for you to identify what the issue might be. And I see this happen all the time, especially now as a skincare brand owner. I see people like use a product once and then they come back and they say, you know, this caused me to break out. I got a rash from using this. And then when you ask a couple of questions like, well, what else are you using? You find out that they just basically overhauled their entire skincare routine, and they're just making the assumption that it's this one product that they used that must have caused this issue. But in reality, there just are so many new products. How can you actually pinpoint that one product? And so it's easier to identify what your issue might be if you just slowly add in one product at a time. It also just gives your skin a chance to acclimate to whatever it is that you're introducing. My recommendation is always to give yourself at least a week or 2 of one new product, then introduce another new product into your skincare routine. Do the same thing for a week or 2, and then introduce another product. And that way, if you start to immediately experience some issues, you can pinpoint it was this one new product that you added into your skincare routine. Another really great tip, whenever people ask me what skincare ingredient is a must-have, what should I introduce into my skincare routine if I'm new to skincare? And I always say a retinoid. If there's one ingredient that makes the biggest changes for your skin, it is your retinoids. And this includes your retinol, your retinaldehyde, your tretinoin, your adapalene, your tazarotene, any of these different retinoids that are out there. There are so many, by the way, out there now. You know, introducing this into your skincare routine will make a difference. All the different strengths and percentages, that's a whole different conversation. It's really about getting the retinoids into your skincare routine. If you're not familiar with retinoids, I have videos all about them, breaking down the different categories of them and what they do for your skin. But in a nutshell, there are lots of different types of retinoids on the market. Some of them are, you know, easy to get at a store, and some of them you have to get a prescription for. And at the end of the day, what they do is stimulate collagen production in your skin. They help to boost skin cell turnover. So kind of like, it's not exfoliating, but it's helping to just make sure that everything that's slowed down with your skin is back to working a little bit faster again. And then the last thing is it helps to improve any texture and discoloration on your skin. So basically it does everything you want it to do. And then the last tip, which is probably the most important tip, is to wear sunscreen. The reason for this is because we've realized that sunscreen is the most important step in your skincare routine, in your daytime skincare routine, not necessarily your night one. And the reason for that is because the sun contributes to the majority of your skincare issues. Not to mention, it can cause cancer, skin cancer. So you wanna make sure that you're being really careful with that. If you want to avoid premature aging, if you want to, you know, avoid hyperpigmentation, if you don't wanna have irritated skin, you have to wear your sunscreen so that you're protecting your skin from damaging UV rays and the free radicals that can come off of the sun. And if you're not doing that, that, then a lot of the stuff that you're doing with your skin and all of the tips that I just gave you sort of don't really matter. I mean, they obviously matter a little bit, but they don't really matter if you're then not protecting your skin from the sun. So those are some small skincare changes to make that have a really big impact on your skin in a positive way. I bet there are so many more tips that we can come up with. So if you have more to add, tell me in the comments below, or if you have any questions to add, tell us in the comments below. You can also find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.